To paraphrase one of my heroes, the late Senator Paul Wellstone of Minnesota, the true purpose of politics is or should be about the improvement of people's lives. In short, I believe that politics matters because policy matters, and policy matters because people matter. When I was 10 years old, my father had a massive heart attack that nearly killed him. Thanks to paramedics who didn't give up on him, and after a quadruple bypass surgery, he survived. But after his surgery and with the damage to his heart, he was unable to continue his job as a chef. Without income during his recovery, he lost his apartment, his van was repossessed, and his medical-related debt would later force him to file for bankruptcy. Without a place to live, unable to physically continue as a chef, he ended up setting up at a flea market, buying and selling things during the days, and camping in a tent behind his table at nights. Eventually, he recovered enough that he was able to work again as a handyman and independent contractor and find an apartment of his own. Here's the thing. My father was one of the strongest people I ever knew, and I have never known anyone who worked harder than him. What his experience showed me is that even the strongest, hardest working people get knocked off their feet sometimes. And it's at those moments when we see how our government works and who it works for. It was only because of democratic policies like Social Security disability insurance that my dad didn't end up in a worse situation than he did after his heart attack. But he also should have been able to focus on recovery without losing his housing. And unable to work full-time in the job he had before, he should have been able to work part-time at another job without facing the benefits cliff and the prospect of losing his disability insurance altogether. I have a memory of my dad lying in his tent behind the flea market, the scars from his surgery visible on his chest, trying to fall asleep, but his eyes still open and looking up. I often think about how many Vermonters are facing similar challenges, laying awake and worrying about their ability to continue in their job, or whether their paycheck can meet their most basic needs in such a difficult and inequitable economy, worrying about where you will live and how much it costs to rent or try to buy a home. I believe that the test of political leaders is not how hard they work for the well-off. The true test of political leadership is how effectively we work for the working class, especially in their moments of greatest need.
Hear, hear.
Yes.
And that's why I am running for the legislature, because I am committed to always looking out for and standing up with the working people of Vermont. Vermonters like my dad and Vermonters in the situations that I just described. Salt of the earth, hardworking people who deserve policymakers in the State House who will have their back and who will work to make things better when times are tough. That's why I believe in the need to preserve and strengthen a social safety net to help catch families when they get knocked off their feet, often through no fault of their own. It's why I believe in the need to preserve and expand policies that give families a hand up when they need it most. And I believe that ensuring these things is a core responsibility of our government, led by the politicians who we elect to craft policy on our behalf. Again, politics matters because policy matters, and policy matters because people matter.